For one full year, I billed New York rates from a village below Chiang Dao that most people can't find on a map. And every single night I went to sleep, certain the connection back to Manhattan was the one thing that would finally sink me. If building a life and business in Thailand is on your mind, do me one favor and subscribe and hit like. It's how these breakdowns keep coming. Now, here's what I expected to go wrong. I pictured a client in a glass office in Midtown, coffee in hand, looking at his screen while my face froze mid-sentence. 1 second of lag, that's all it takes. He decides the guy on a mountain in northern Thailand can't be trusted with real work, and the account is gone, not over the work, over a dropped call at 9 in the morning his time. That was the movie that played in my head every night for a year. The 11-hour gap between us catching me at the worst possible second. 11 hours. When Midtown poured its first coffee, my village was already dark and dreaming. If you're a founder or a freelancer still billing US clients from a US desk, this next number is the one you'll want to sit with. Because I didn't wander up that dirt road for the scenery. I did it for the math. I traded a co-working desk in Manhattan for a single room up a rutted dirt road below Chiang Dao on purpose to kill a burn that was eating me alive. Below Chiang Dao, that great black wall of a mountain that stands behind the temple, the bells start before the light does, and a songtheo rattles up the hill hauling crates of vegetables to the morning market. That became my new commute. From the bed to the desk, 6 steps, past a window with the mountain filling it. That Manhattan seat, the desk, the overhead, the slice of the city you pay just to exist there ran me about $6,000 a month. The entire Chiang Dao operation, the whole thing top to bottom, lands near $1,400 a month. Read those two numbers again, 6,000, then 1,400, because that gap is the whole reason I got on the plane. Let me open that 1,400 up, because a number nobody itemizes is a number nobody believes. There's the room, there's the village fiber, 1,200 baht a month, strung up the hill on a line that was about to become the star of my nightmares. There's the non-B business visa, the one that lets you actually run a company here instead of tiptoeing around on a tourist stamp. And there's the Thai company itself, set up clean so I could invoice like a real business. That last part I did not do alone. My accountant, Aaron Soft-Spoken, always in the same gray polo, the kind of man who never once raised his voice, took a stack of registration papers that terrified me and made them boring. Boring is exactly what you want from paperwork. He'd slide a form across the desk, point at one line and say, "Sign here, Sawyer. This one is fine." And it was. I spent a year and more figuring all of that out the hard way, the visa, the company, the banking, the internet, up a hill, learning most of it by getting it wrong first. So I wrote down the answers I wish somebody had handed me on day one. That's One Way Guide, the ebook inside the One Way Club, the practical version of everything Iran and I stumbled through, the visa and company and banking steps laid out so you're not scrambling for advice from the wrong places. I'll be straight with you, it won't file the paperwork for you. And it's not for someone who only likes to daydream about the move. It's for the person who's actually going to sit down and set this up. Links in the description. Now, the part that surprised even me, the income never moved. I still billed the same New York rates I'd always billed. Same invoices, same numbers on them. I banked in dollars, converted only what I needed to live on, and let the rest sit where it was strong. A New York invoice paid in dollars, then spent in baht up a mountain road. That's the quiet arbitrage nobody teaches you. So the money coming in didn't shrink. Only the money going out did. 6,000 of overhead became 1,400, and the invoices stayed exactly the same size, which means if you're doing the arithmetic with me, the whole thing was solved by month 2. The bank account was healthy, the company was legal, the desk was cheap, the spreadsheet was done fighting me. On paper, I'd won, and yet the money wasn't what kept me up at night. You'd think it would be, but it wasn't. Every night, once the work was done and the village had gone quiet, I'd lie there and think about the router, that little box on the windowsill with the fiber light blinking green in the dark. As long as it blinked, I was fine. But some morning, I was sure it wouldn't. Some morning, I'd wake to the biggest call of the year, and that light would be dead, and the 11-hour gap I'd built my whole life around would finally do what I'd feared from the start, hang me out in front of a client in New York. That was the real engine of the year, not the burn, the dread. I'd solved the hard number and spent every night bracing for the soft one. And here's the thing I didn't see while it was happening. Somewhere in all that bracing without ever deciding to. I'd fallen into a rhythm, a shape to my days built entirely around that 11-hour gap, and it started every morning while New York was still fast asleep. And here's what that rhythm actually looked like from the inside. The alarm didn't wake me. I was already up before it in the dark. The mountain behind the temple was still just a black shape you could feel more than see. No headlights on the dirt road, no cart engines yet, 4:30, maybe 5, and the only light in the room was my laptop. Think about that for a second. Every single client I had was asleep, all of them. Not one person on the whole Eastern Seaboard could ring my phone, drop a request in my lap, or pull me into a call I didn't schedule. When you run US clients, that never happens back home. Someone always needs something 5 minutes ago. Up on that hill below Chiang Dao, the whole world that paid me was face down on a pillow 11 hours away, and that quiet was mine. So the morning started the same way most mornings did. Down the road, under a tin roof next to the village school, Knock runs a little coffee cart, a woman, maybe 60, with a green apron gone pale from washing and a laugh you hear before you see her. Knock, who runs the coffee cart under the tin roof by the school, ladles out this cow swa that steams up into the cold before the sun's over the ridge, a 40-baht bowl of noodles. That's $1 and change. That bowl was how the working night began. Every time I'd carry it back, set it on the little table beside the laptop, and get to work while it was still too dark to see the water buffalo in the field. Now, the clock, this is the part people get wrong before they've lived it, so do the subtraction with me. Their 9 in the morning is your 8 at night, and watch what that does to your whole day. New York opens for business at 9. That landed at 8 in the evening, my time. So the exact moment Manhattan was pouring the first coffee and flipping laptops open, my own day was winding down towards sleep. Their 9 a.m. was my 8 at night. I didn't fight that gap. I built my entire life around it. Here's how it played out. I'd sleep through their afternoon. I'd wake in the dead middle of their night, my early morning, and I'd have 5-6 hours of total silence with nobody able to reach me. That's when the real work got done. The decks, the copy, the client fixes, the things that need your whole brain and no interruptions. And by the time Manhattan stumbled to their desks and opened their inboxes, the finished work was already sitting there, done overnight, waiting for them. That was the trick the whole year turned on. While New York slept, I built, ask yourself when your best, most uninterrupted work actually happens. Mine started happening in the hours nobody could reach me, not squeezed between 3 meetings, not after a day of Slack pings, in the pure dark, with a bowl of noodles cooling next to me and the jungle making its noise outside the window. I got more real work done between 4 and 9 in the morning up there than I used to grind out in a full Manhattan day. And something quietly shifted in how the clients treated me. When your deliverable is always sitting in the inbox before they've even asked for it, they stop scheduling calls to check in. They stop wanting FaceTime. There's nothing to check on. It's already done. My whole relationship with those accounts turned into approvals instead of meetings, output instead of showing up. One founder I worked with, a guy in Midtown who used to want a call for everything, went months only ever typing me 2 words back, looks good. That's it. He didn't need me on camera. He needed the work in his inbox at 7 his time, and it was from the outside. I know exactly how this sounds. Smooth, frictionless. The guy cracked the code and floated through his year on a mountain eating dollar noodles. And on the surface, sure, it ran like that. But I'm going to be straight with you, because the whole point of me talking to you like this is that I don't sell you the polished version. Underneath the smooth, the dread never left. Not for a single night the entire year. Because everything I just described, the overnight builds, the inbox already full, the client who trusted me sight unseen, all of it hung on one thin thread. The connection, the fiber running up that dirt road. Every night I lay down knowing that if the line died at the wrong second, if a call dropped in the middle of the wrong sentence, the whole picture I'd built could come apart in about 90 seconds. A client in New York doesn't see a monsoon. He sees a guy on a mountain who wasn't there when it mattered. And that's a story that ends an account. So yes, the money was solved, the rhythm was solved, but there was this one thing I could never fully put to bed, and it sat in the back of my skull every night like a low hum. One bad morning, one dropped call at the wrong second. That's all it would take. And then the calendar handed me the exact morning I'd been afraid of, because it wasn't going to stay theoretical forever. Sooner or later, there's a call that actually matters, where being the reliable guy isn't a nice to have, it's the entire game. Mine had a date on it. Late in the rainy season, a Tuesday, marked on my calendar for weeks, the biggest client call of the year, the account that was honestly a real chunk of what kept the whole Cheaper Life funded, a room full of their people in Midtown, on camera, expecting the guy on the mountain to show up sharp and prove without ever saying it that running their work from a village in northern Thailand was never a risk in the first place. This was the one. The single morning that all 12 months of quiet dread had been pointing at. You already know where this is going. The one morning I dreaded for a year was about to actually arrive. And the night before, the sky over the ridge did something I didn't like. The clouds started stacking heavy and low, the way they do right before the mountain really opens up. By dark, the rain was hammering the tin roof so hard you couldn't hear yourself think. Monsoon sitting right on top of the village, right on top of the one line that carried everything I had to New York. At 5:40 that morning, 20 minutes before the biggest client call of the year, I looked over at the router and the fiber light was dead. The monsoon had chewed the village line, and I had 6 minutes. That's all I had between a dead fiber light and the biggest client call of the year. And I didn't sit there in panic. I moved, grabbed my phone off the desk, killed the Wi-Fi, turned on the hotspot, because there was one thing up on that hill that could still save me, and it was the 4G tower standing on the ridge above the village. I tethered to that tower, propped the phone flat in the window where the signal came in strongest, and watched the little bars climb. 2, 3, rain still dripping off the tin roof outside, the mountain black behind the temple, my heart going, and me braced for the exact disaster I'd rehearsed in my head for 12 straight months. This is the part I built the whole year around, and here's exactly what happened when the line went dead. I dialed in, 8 at night my time, 9 in the morning theirs, phone in the window, laptop on my knees, and me just sitting there waiting for it to break. It didn't break. The call ran 40 minutes clean, not a stutter, not a drop. 40 minutes of me and a room full of New Yorkers walking through the work line by line, and that phone in the window held the whole time like it had something to prove. I kept glancing at the call timer on the screen. 20 minutes, 30, 40, steady the entire way. Then the client said the thing, half awake, coffee in hand, the sun just hitting his office window, 40-some floors up over Midtown, and he tells me I came through sharper than the guys 3 doors down from him in the office. The guys down the hall, same building, same fiber, 10 feet from their own router, and the man on a mountain in northern Thailand, tethered to a phone in a window, came through cleaner than all of them. I sat there a second after we hung up, the router light's still dead, the rain's still going, and this thing turning over in my head that had taken me a whole year to finally see. Look at what I got wrong for 12 months. The thing I feared most was the thing quietly working in my favor the entire time. The connection was never the risk. I'd had it backwards from day one. I spent a year lying awake over the 11-hour gap between Chiang Dao and New York, like it was a crack in the floor I'd eventually drop through. It wasn't a crack. The 11-hour gap was the edge, not the risk, and I'd been standing on it the whole time without knowing. Here's what I mean. While New York slept, I built. I'd said that to myself all year without understanding why it mattered until that morning. Their 9 in the morning was my 8 at night. So every day while Manhattan was dark and nobody could email me, nobody could pull me into a meeting, I worked a 40-baht bowl of noodles from Knox Cart, the one under the tin roof by the school, and then hours where the world couldn't reach me. By the time their laptops opened, the work was already sitting in their inbox, finished, approved before their coffee went cold. My slowest, most private hours, the ones I was sure made me the unreliable guy on the mountain, turned out to be the most productive hours I'd ever worked. I delivered overnight. They woke up to approvals. That's not a man you worry about losing signal. That's the man who's somehow always a step ahead of the room. Let me put it side by side once, because for a year, I had these 2 pictures pointing the wrong way. What I expected, I lose an account, one dropped call at the wrong second, some client in Midtown decides the guy 11 hours away can't be trusted, and quietly moves on. That exact account was my nightmare. What I got, that same account became the one most impressed by me, the one telling the others about the guy up the mountain who never misses. The thing I was certain would sink me is the thing that sold me. Now, I'm not going to hand you a fairy tale. The line still dies. Monsoon comes every year, the wire up the hill still sags and gets chewed, and yes, some mornings the fiber light still blinks dead at the worst possible moment. That part's real. But here's the boring truth. The fix is boring, and it works. I keep the 4G tether ready now all the time. Phone charged, hotspot 1, tap away, and I know exactly which window catches the tower. That's the whole disaster plan. A backup that costs me nothing and takes 10 seconds to reach. The thing that terrified me for a year now takes less thought than making coffee. So let's lay the numbers back down because this is what it all comes to. $1,400 a month against $6,000. That's the room, the Village Fiber at 1,200 baht, the non-B business visa, the Thai company my accountant Aaron set up so I could invoice, clean all of it, near $1,400 a month, against a Manhattan seat and overhead that ran me $6,000, same New York rates on every invoice, same clients, same work. I just stopped paying $6,000 to sit in the city and started paying $1,400 to work under a mountain, and the time zone I was terrified of turned into the quiet engine of the whole thing. Run your own numbers against mine, $1,400, the same invoices, a clock that works for you, and tell me it isn't within reach. Because here's the part I really want you to sit with. The exact thing you're most afraid of about running your American income from a village most people can't find on a map, the connection, the distance, that 11-hour gap, the fear that you'll be the flaky one, that might be the very thing that becomes your advantage. It was for me. The distance I dreaded is the reason I now outwork every guy still stuck in the office. You've got a laptop, you've got clients who pay American rates, and somewhere out there is a room under a mountain with Village Fiber for 1,200 baht, a tower on the ridge for the mornings the fiber quits, and a clock that does half your work for you while the other side of the world sleeps. That's not a gamble. That's arithmetic. This is what it costs. This is what you'd need. And the 11-hour gap you're scared of isn't working against you. It's waiting to work for you the day you decide to build it right.